Hey everybody, it's Kevin from Hats and Guitars. Your favorite hat dude, hat guru guy, or hat nerd, or whatever you want to call me. I'm the hat guy. So I was thinking about what to talk about today, what kind of subject to pull for today's hat lecture. I do know that we need to get back to some of the basics and talk about some of the basic stuff because I get a lot of questions through our Facebook group. We have a Facebook group called Hats and Guitars, Show Your Hats, where people can basically just go show pictures of their new hats, ask questions to other hat wearers, basically show off their stuff and post things about hat history and old 50s ads, pictures of Bogart, anything, relating to hats. It's not that much cowboy hats, but it is also cowboy hats. It's fedoras and westerns, all kinds of, hats. But generally, I think we're a little bit more dress hat and fedora based. But we have a lot of Western customers and crossover customers, guys who like stuff like Akubras, it's Australian Outback hats, safari hats, rugged sort of in-between cowboy hat things. I was posed a question today from a really cool viewer named Ben, who lives out in Asia, in Singapore, very cool country. They're on a tight ship there. And they have a really cool mall out there. I've seen this. I think the mall has what does it have? An aquarium and all kind of fountains and stuff. But anyway, Ben is an awesome guy. And I've seen him progress. With hats. He started off with his first hat, and then he got more into it. Now he's this hat expert guy who's like all over the hat group and everything. He asked me a question today about dress weight felt. What is dress weight felt? It's a term that you hear sometimes. So let's talk about that. There are essentially two different classifications of felt. If you're a hat maker or if you're somebody who owns a hat shop, you're going to know about this. There's Western felt and there's dress felt. It's also known as Western weight and dress weight, okay, because it's different weight felts. When you buy felt, the raw felt to make a hat out of, it's kind of comes unshaped like this, no bow, nothing on it. It's just a piece of felt, like a disc kind of. Those are called hat bodies. Hat bodies are bought, you basically buy them by weight, by gram weight. So if you're buying a rabbit, out of this many grams, it's going to cost twice as much as something that's half that much grams. So, a 10-gram hat is, not as expensive as a 20-gram hat, etc., etc. So it goes the same for Western hats, for Western felts, for dress felts. It goes for rabbit and for beaver, all the same. Not so much for wool, but it does go for any kind of felt. You buy it by the weight. Okay, so it's thinner, it's thicker, it's more dense and stuff. Dress felt is for dress hats, for fedoras, pork pies, all that kind of stuff. They're meant to be soft, luxurious, comfortable. It's something that you wear all day long. You wear it with your overcoat. It should be luxurious. Should be able to take some of the elements. Obviously, you don't want it to dissolve when it gets wet out and stuff, but it's not really meant as like a waterproof shell to cover you from the rain. It's a fashion item. It's something that keeps you warm. It's also something that keeps you dry. It's something that keeps the sun off of you. But a dress hat is not meant for huge rains and things like that. They assume that you're going to have an umbrella with a dress hat, and if you're really in a bad rain and it's a rainy day, don't even wear your dress hat. Wear a rain hat. Okay, so you might wear your beautiful felts every day. You got a black one, you got a gray one, you got a brown one. When it's raining, you buy yourself a rain hat, which is, an inexpensive hat. It's made out of that raincoat material, like poplin. It's kind of that scratchy kind of poplin. Sometimes it's cotton, sometimes I don't know what it's made of, nylon, but they're inexpensive materials. That it's basically a raincoat material for in a hat, you know. And instead of, you know, like a $200 or $300 felt hat made out of fur, it's just made out of, you know, cotton or nylon. A lot of them you could even put in your pocket and stuff. They're inexpensive, and some of them look really good. I could show you the ones that look really good. They even have crushable wool felt ones. They have light felts that you could roll up and stuff too. But these are not meant to, you know, totally shield you from, you know, big heavy rings. It's just not their purpose. Okay. Yes, most of the time they do fine, but you just can't have a deluge on your hat. It's not gonna, you know, the shape's gonna get messed up the next day and stuff. So you use an umbrella, you use one of your old hats that you don't care about it losing the shape so much, or you just get yourself a, you know, a cheaper hat, or wear something that's, you know, older in your rotation. Like, you know, if this hat is one of my older ones, I'll wear this one instead of like my brand new one and stuff. Half the times, nothing happens to these when they get wet. They're fine. But what you need to do is, when the hat is wet, you need to keep the brim up, okay? You want to preserve this curve. Preserve the curve. That's my corny line, okay? The curve is the flange. It allows you to snap it up and down. Okay, if you take this hat wet, leave it on the table, it's gonna, the water is just gonna make it dry flatter. And every time you do that, it gets flatter and flatter. Eventually, there is no right angle here anymore, and there's no snap. It just becomes kind of straight and soft and floppy and stuff, and there's really no up or down anymore. So to avoid all this, you take your wet hat, okay, you put it back in its original position, okay, not this snapped position where it's bending. Original position, okay, check everything that it's nice and straight, okay, hang it up. So it's just sort of floating. And just kind of floating. That's fine. It'll dry just like that. Or like this. Put it like this. Let it dry. No heat. Put it away from your heat source. Even if your house is hot. Hot house, cold outside, radiators, that's not good. The leather can shrink, the felt will kind of shrink, all this stuff. So crack the window, make sure you're drying it at room temperature, upside down or hung up with the brim flipped. If you're one of these guys who just doesn't want to do that and you want to keep your hat down like this all the time, put this on the edge of the table so that this is hanging off the edge of the table like that, okay? Or just do this, you know? Just don't flip it up, keep it down, and just do one of these. That's good too. Or do one of these. But don't do this. Just don't put it on its brim. Just don't ever do that. We all do it. I do it. I do it all the time. I forget it, you know. So you flip it over whenever you can, you know. You flip it. We all forget to do it. You just flip when you remember to. As long as you're aware of all these things, your hats will be fine. All my hats tend to last and last and last because of this. I have only one hat that's worn out a little here because I wore it like 9 years straight, like every single weekday, you know, like 6 days a week. That's this one. It got a little bit worn out, but other than that, my hats all tend to look good, whether it's 13 years old, whether it's, you know, 2 years old. It's very basic care and stuff, okay? Now, Western felt is thicker. It's much thicker. You can see the side of it. It's got a, you know, much more felt, push dense. It's denser. So they take, you know, a lot of felt and they condense it. So it's thicker. It's also more denser. So this stuff will hold up more weight, basically. Okay. Western felts are good for things like rugged hats, cowboy hats, Australian outback, safari hats, westerns. All those things are working hats. They're meant for, you know, like horse riding, ranching, ranchers, people who, barrel racers and all this kind of stuff. So, horses like run over these hats, people, they get thrown off they're working hats, so Westerns are rugged. They're meant to be rugged. Another good thing for Western felts is flat brims. If you want to do a flat brim, you really can't use soft felt. Generally, you're going to want to use something like a Western felt for a flat brim. If you're using dress felt, you got to use something stiff. With KTG hats, we have particular colors that are really stiff, and then we have other colors that are really, really soft. Excuse me. It tends to be lighter colors are softer, darker colors are harder. With KTG hats, with my company, Silver Belly, Ash Gray, and Mist are really soft. They're super light, and the light colors tend to be softer, while the darker ones tend to have more stiffness, like olive. Olive is a stiffer color. I don't know why, it is. Maybe there's more dyes in there, it's more harsher dyes, it just makes for a really cool shadow on the wall, right? Looks cool, right? Anyway, yeah, Western weight, dress weight. So Western is going to, it holds itself up because it's so dense and so thick. So when you're doing a flat brim, if your felt is soft, it's just not going to hold. You could buy it flat, but it's not going to maintain it. As soon as you put it on your head, like if your head is the wrong shape, it's going to do something like that, But with Western felt, it's so stiff that your head won't do that. It takes a lot of force to bend it. But if you put on something that's, a little bit tight, that's soft, it's going to flex with your head, and all of a sudden it's not even the least bit flat anymore. You got this big hippie floppy Woodstock arc thing happening. This also happens when hats get shrunken. They shrink, and you put them on, and then they're too tight and they start doing like this. You get that weird Indiana Jones thing on the side, that flip up thing. So yeah, if you want to go flat, you cannot use soft felt. It has to be. If you're thinking about flattening out your brim on your hat, it's just not going to work if it's soft felt. You got to use something really hardy, typically Western felt. If you're not, it's got to be something stiff, where you have to stiffen the hell out of it. You have to, use good stiffener, good quality stuff, not hairspray, and good amount of it. You can iron it. You could use a flat wooden piece of wood, like a flange. Sometimes brim blocks, they're shaped like a donut. Sometimes the other side of it is flat, the back side. So if you turn them upside down, a brim block can be used to flatten hats, the flat side of it. So yeah, one side is curved to get the curve of the brim, the other side is flat. So you flip them over. That's another way. Ironing also works, but you're going to need stiffener. Flat brims is essentially like a Western felt, things like Bolero hats, Stevie Ray Vaughan hats, and things like that. If you want to do that, you need Western felt. Okay, let's get back to this now. There are things that are in between Western felt and dress felt, like there's cheap, thin Western felt, things like crossover hats. A lot of times, things like a Cobra are sort of like in between. This isn't definitely not as thick as like a Stetson, a proper Western, like a Shasta or a Skyline. But then again, a Cobra is not exactly the same as it used to be. It's quite different. In the last 2-3 years, it's gotten a lot thinner, and in the last 5 years or so, this is a nice in-betweeny kind of weight. It's obviously not, like that blue hat I was just wearing, but it's kind of rugged. Things like Open Roads, the Open Road, the Dune, the Katera, the Gun Club, they're kind of like this quasi-Western weight. They're sort of in between. They can be very, very stiff, yet thin. So these are the hats that are a little bit tough. Those are the ones that I say I avoid steaming them, reshaping them. Just try to do as little as possible. Try not to get them wet. Try not to steam them. Try not to experiment with them. And just expect the fact that they're a little thinner. They're not true cowboy hats. I'm talking about more modern versions of open roads and dunes and things like that. As far as Akubra is a great brand, but they make all sorts of stuff. They have things that are like full out Western felts, like the Snowy River. That's, you know, like really thick and heavy. If you drop that, it's gonna go clunk. But then they make stuff like this, that's soft. Like the Style Master and other things that are a little bit bendy and stuff like that. So there are things that are kind of in between Western felt and dress felt. Essentially anything that's a snap brim is almost always done with dress felt, in any fedora. And usually anything that's like at all Western is done with Western felt. You know, it's just the way it is. You know. So any other questions? There is the comments section, and also the Facebook group. So if you really have questions, if you're thinking about maybe ordering your first custom hat for yourself, or maybe you want to try one of Kevin's KTG hats, you know, it's a great company, very reliable. There's 23 colors, 20 ribbon colors. We could do almost anything for you. If you're thinking about doing something like this and you want to communicate with me, the comment section, I used to be a lot more responsive to it. These days, you know, with, you know, the KTG and my business and doing all sorts of stuff, it gets harder to answer all the comments. I tend to answer the comments in the latest video on the first and the second day and stuff like that, and that's it. So the best way to get in touch with me is always through the Facebook group, Hats and Guitars. Just go to Facebook, make yourself a profile if you don't have one, and then just put in the search Hats and Guitars. Show your hats, and it'll pop up. Join the group. You'll see me every day. I hang out there every day. And the other way is just to email me. I don't mind consultations, talking. If you're not sure about what you want to order, I can definitely set you up with the right hat. Something to, you know, kind of work with your personality. Hats are for life, you know, so they do last a lifetime. Many times they outlast the wearer and stuff. So what you need to do is make your choice count, and you know, talk about it, be open, and really kind of pitch back and forth and stuff. You know, I give you my ideas, you give me, you know, and we talk, and that's the best way. The more you talk and the more back and forth, you send me pictures, you tell me about yourself, tell me what you're looking for, and I'll get you the hat that is just right for you. You know, if you're a aspiring rock star, or if you're a aspiring rabbi, it doesn't matter. I know exactly, you know, what is your dream hat. Everything we make from KTG is really soft leather. We have this special leather sweatband that I chose, which is, it's really, really soft. I've never even seen other hats with leather like this. It's almost like glove leather, very soft and stretchy. What that does is it takes a lot of weight off the hat. You become much lighter, a little bendier, and then also with KTG, when you order something in ash gray, silver belly, the lighter colors, even powder blue and rose, some of those colors too, but especially silver belly and ash gray, they're so buttery soft. It's like, you know, it's the kind of thing where you can just, you know, shape it and do stuff. And, you know, if you want to do a diamond one day, you can do all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of fun with that. Like if you get a open crown Starlight, which is kind of like a quasi Alessandria old Strat Premier kind of thing, open crown in silver belly, you could wear that like an open road one day. You could wear that like a teardrop another day. You could even pork pie it. They're nice and soft. Felt is a lot of times dependent on color. some brands more than others. It depends on the particular felt that you're using, but generally, when a felt is nice and fine, you can feel the dye in something. When a hat color is darker, there's more dye in it, more harsh dyes, and the hat becomes stiffer. And when a hat is lighter, like silver belly or white or mist or light dove gray, there's less dye in there. So it's very, very soft, and it becomes buttery and shapeable and kind of like vintagey and stuff. It's very interesting, actually. So, you could kind of choose the kind of hat that you want. If you're the kind of guy who likes a derby or a Hamburg, you might want something a little stiffer and a little snappier. For instance, 6X West, he wanted to order a derby in a light gray, but our ash gray is very soft, and it just wouldn't be the best felt for a derby. When you're doing a bowler or derby or Hamburg, you want it to be starchy and snappy. You want some, you don't want it to be buttery and soft. It's just not the nature of those hats. So, it's pretty interesting. So you can order something really stiff and starchy, or you could get something really soft, depending on what color you get. It can be a little surprising. Sometimes some colors are stiff, some are soft, and you don't know. Like chocolate brown, I thought would be very stiff, but it turned out to be very soft. But it's pretty cool. The flat brim thing is something that we can do at KTG. I haven't done a flat brim yet for somebody, but we could do a flat brim with an open crown. We could do a flat brim with a flat pork pie, like a bolero, kind of Stevie Ray Vaughan thing. We even have leather bands if you don't want to do a ribbon band. We have different widths, like a very thin open road width, middle ones, wider, 2-inch, we could go crazy. We could do double bands. We could do a bow in the back for you. Get absolutely nuts and crazy. So I like being creative and creating new things for you guys, together and stuff. So any kind of ideas you have, if you want to brainstorm, we are starting to take orders now for run 5. We're about to finish up run number 4 next week. The guys at McGill said that we should be shipping all of the run 4 hats. There's only 5 of them left. The last 5 will go out next week. And that's it. And we're going to start our run 5, and we're going to come up with all new colors. The turnaround has been a little bit slow with KTG because everybody ordered custom hats this time around. 50 different custom hats, all different one-offs. It wound up being kind of challenging for them to do all of those in a shorter period of time. So we might work something out with KTG where we get something like 5 or 6 standard colorways, like silver belly carbon, chocolate with black, mist with this, blah, blah, blah. We'll get 6 or 7 really beautiful new colorways, and we'll just do them for every hat. That way things will turn around much, much faster. The other idea I had is, instead of doing runs of 50, 70, 80 hats, let's start doing some runs now, batches of 10 hats, 15 hats at a time, which will keep my bills smaller too, so I don't have to pay $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 bills at a time too, which is kind of a drag. And also the turnaround will go much faster. So they'll just have to make a batch of 10 hats. Maybe they could do that in a couple of weeks, So we're working on KTG to try to make the things sort of turn around a little quicker, and get a little bit more focused, and do a little less custom work. We might work something out where doing a custom hat costs a little bit more, like maybe $20 more or something like that, just to keep the standard colors more popular. But the idea is that we got to get better standard colors for KTG to satisfy everybody. All right, so that's about it. I wanted to just talk about this one subject, the subject of different types of felt, Western versus dress felt. the whole thickness is really, it doesn't matter whether you have a raw edge, a welted edge, or a bound edge. Your hat can fail just as easily. It could get out of shape. Putting a bound edge or a welted edge is not going to make your hat stronger. Actually, short brims, like 2-inch brims and stuff, they tend to not go out of shape as easily. They're kind of like structurally a better, shape. Short brims are a little more manageable, but it doesn't matter what brim treatment you put on. It's not going to change the strength of your brim. What will change it will be the thickness of the felt, okay, the quality of the felt, how well the hat was blocked, if it was blocked well, and how much stiffener is in the felt, things like that. I used to think that the edge had a lot more to do, but no. This is the same felt that we use at KTG. This is old though, this is a very old hat. But that's one thing you want to look for with felt. You want to look for thickness. If you could actually see the side of it like that, and it looks like, you got something good, good thick, you can see this side, like it's a square side like that, that's like a good sign, When felt is really thin, it doesn't have that same appearance. But this Borsalino is a really high quality, but it just is not that thick as the last one. You can see it's thinner, All right, so that's it. We're also going to talk more about the subject of rabbit versus beaver. I get a lot of people talking about this subject, asking me about this. Rabbit, beaver, they want me to make beaver hats. Beaver is going to be $700, $750 a hat, which is not the kind of hat company I really want to have right now. It might be something we do in the future, but right now, I feel if I'm going to start making beaver hats, we might do something like one special batch at some point or something like that. But I believe that if you use a very good, reliable rabbit felt and a good, reliable beaver felt, the results will really be the same. If you use a thinner beaver and a thinner rabbit, the results will be the same. You're going to get problems with the felts, all kinds of issues and stuff. Beaver does feel nicer. It does look nicer sometimes too, depending on the quality of it. There are some beaver felts that are, not that luxurious too, that look kind of like rabbit. And then there's also rabbit that is just pounced and buffed so well by hand that it looks so soft and it feels so soft that it's softer than any beaver you ever felt. I don't believe so much in beaver is better. I do like beaver hats, I love them too, but I'm not so much a believer in go for beaver. You're gonna get better results. Akubra is not beaver. Borsalino is not beaver. To me, those are the two most reliable, the best felts there are. They don't fail. They're just fantastic. And they are not beaver. Vintage hats, they're not beaver either. They're rabbit. So rabbit is not a second best kind of thing. That is something that's hat makers do like you to buy beaver because, you spend more and stuff. But I believe that the materials are both very, very fine and they're both very, very similar. You can have a great, great collection of 1930s and 40s Borsalinos and Stetsons that are the finest felt you ever saw, and there'll just be no beaver there at all. So the whole beaver thing to me is just kind of like, I could take it or leave it. Will I make you a beaver hat? I can't really make it for you right now. I don't really want to sell $750 hats. It's just not really my goal. We want to do something more like Stetson, Celentino, Akubra, Bailey, Dobbs, all the major brands. They seem to be kind of like disappearing and fading away, and you don't hear anything from them. You don't hear any hype anymore from them. Everything just seems to be fading. I want to be something that's out there, a good alternative, a fun alternative that, you could buy whatever you'd like. You could get rugged, you could get, pimped out, you could, go back to the 1930s or 40s. You could buy a religious hat, if you're a preacher or rabbi. Whatever is fun for you, that's what we want to make. Your dream hat. That's what KTG is all about. It's like basically fulfilling your dreams through headwear. So that said, you guys, I'll see you soon, and take care. Much care. Now's a great time to hit thumbs up and subscribe. It's totally free for you, but it helps me to keep the channel strong, and potentially I could even make some money. 92% of you guys are not subscribed, so hit subscribe and like now. Thank you.